Hello students, hope you're all doing well during this pandemic time. Take care of your good health, students. This is Dr. M. Bhushanam, Associate Professor in Zoology, Maharani Science College for Women, Bengaluru. In today's session, we shall learn another topic under genetics, that is sex linkage, related to the concept and types and the pattern of X-linked inheritance with few examples such as eye color in Drosophila and color blindness and hemophilia in human beings. So today's learning objectives is to understand how genes are linked on the X chromosome and to understand the pattern of inheritance of genes through these chromosomes and the pattern of inheritance of X-linked recessive in the examples of color blindness and hemophilia in human beings, as well as the eye color in Drosophila. So content of today's topic is under sex linkage, concept and types, then X-linked inheritance in eye color of Drosophila, and color blindness and hemophilia in human beings. Let us understand what is linkage refers to. The term link refers to hold two things together tightly. Here, linkage of genes are seen on the chromosomes. We know in eukaryotes within the nucleus, we have chromosomes that contains the functional DNA at specific locus or loci. The functional DNA we call it as gene, and the position where these genes are placed on chromosome is called locus. In plural form, we call it as loci. The neighboring genes on a particular chromosome tend to show much of strong linkage, strong bondage, strong connection. So this physical association between two or more genes present on a chromosome is called linkage of genes. In the picture, when you look at the first picture towards the left side is the chromosome where gene 1 and gene 2 are very closely positioned. So loci of two genes is very close. So linkage is strong. So you find link. In the second example, which you see in the middle, you have genes on two different chromosomes. They are not linked because they are present on two different chromosomes. The third example, much towards the extreme right, you have two genes which are set apart. The linkage is not seen between those two genes because they are set very apart. So linkage refers to the physical association between two closely positioned genes, which we call it as linkage of genes. Now, genes are always associated with these chromosomes. Related to sex chromosomes or allosomes is called as sex-linked genes. I repeat, genes that are seen on allosomes or sex chromosomes which are linked together are called sex-linked genes. So position of these genes are very close otherwise. We have, in case of human beings as well as Drosophila, the type of chromosomal sex determination is XXXY type. XX type of sex chromosomal type is seen in case of females who are normal. XY is seen in case of normal males. XX configuration is seen in the normal females, and genes that are associated on X chromosomes is called as sex linkage or X-linked genes. Okay, so generally X chromosome is common for both males as well as females. So hence we call X chromosomal linkage also as sex linkage. When we specifically say Y-linked genes, it refers to genes on Y chromosome. But when we say sex-linked genes, it refers to genes on X chromosome. So sex linkage otherwise refers to genes present on the X chromosome. In case of birds and butterflies, we have ZZ and ZW type of sex determination, where Z and W genes vary in their size and shape, Z being larger than W. In case of XX and XY type of sex determination, which we commonly see in man and Drosophila, both X chromosomes are homotypic chromosomes. Whereas X and Y, when we look at X being larger and rod shaped, Y is smaller, slightly curved. So chromosomes are unequal in size as well as shape compared between X and Y. Whereas XX chromosomes are homotypic chromosomes. They are also homologous chromosomes, which refers that each of the X chromosome is donated, one by the father side or paternal, one from the mother side, which we call as maternal. Coming on to the types of sex linkages. So we have understood what is link or linkage of genes, then what is sex linked genes or sex linkage. The next concept is types of sex linkages or sex linked genes. As we have understood, there are three major types of sex linked genes related to the allosomes. Genes present on X chromosome are called X-linked genes or sex-linked genes. Genes present on Y chromosome we call it as Y-linked genes or Hollandic genes. Genes that are seen in common present on both X and Y are called incomplete sex-linked genes. I repeat, students, genes present on exclusively X chromosomes are called X-linked genes or sex-linked genes. Genes which are categorized specifically on or present specifically on Y chromosomes are called Y-linked genes or Hollandic genes. And genes present both on X and Y chromosomes in common are called incomplete sex-linked genes. So to understand the inheritance pattern of the transmission of X chromosome from male individual in Drosophila or in man, which has chromosomal sex determination of XY type. X chromosome of every man is contributed by their mother and Y chromosome is from their father. Now, X chromosome from a male individual always will pass to their daughter, and X chromosomes of the female is equally transmitted, one to the daughter, the other one to the son. The character from father here hence goes to the daughter in the form of a carrier individual, so that you find in F1 generation, and this carrier daughter will transfer the character from her to her son. Here exactly refers to the grandson in F2 generation. This type of inheritance where the characters of affected specially seen from the grandparent which is transferred to the grandson, grandfather to the grandson if the characters gets transmitted through the involvement of a carrier female in between in F1 generation is called as criss-cross inheritance. So affected characters from the grandfather will be transmitted into the grandson, but through a normal female, but she is a carrier. Okay, so this type of inheritance is called criss-cross inheritance. Let us now stick on to the specific example that is cited in your syllabus. First one to start is X-linked inheritance with reference to the eye color in Drosophila. This concept was experimentalized and studied by T.H. Morgan in 1910. In his experiment of red-eyed Drosophila, he could suddenly find the appearance of a white-eyed male in the culture of normal red-eyed Drosophila. The white-eyed male was now taken out and it was crossed with a red-eyed female. I repeat, T.H. Morgan was experimenting with the Drosophila of red-eyed. Suddenly he could find a white-eyed male. Now he took out that white-eyed male and crossed to a red-eyed female. In F1 generation, both the males as well as females were all red-eyed. So what happened to that white-eyed character? It vanished in the F1 generation, indicating that white eye color is recessive to the normal red eye color in Drosophila. So this is what the conclusion he came to. Next, when you look at the scenario of the cross where red-eyed female is crossed to white-eyed male, in F1 generation all the males and females are red-eyed. To his surprise, when they are crossed of F1 generation, he could find almost all the females are red-eyed, but among the males 50% were red-eyed and 50% were white-eyed. If it were to be recessive in nature, even one of the females should have been the white-eyed. So he had a kind of confusion, and he started to analyze where this gene responsible for white eye is located on the chromosome of Drosophila. When these white F1 flies were intercrossed of red-eyed alone, he could find the appearance of white-eyed males in F2 generation in the ratio of 3:1, and white-eyed were only males. Red-eyed females and one male was also red-eyed. So altogether 75% of the generation was red-eyed and 25% of males were white-eyed. That's what the cross he has analyzed. Now, a reciprocal cross was performed between a white-eyed female, understand, all this time he was using white-eyed male to cross with a red-eyed female. So condition was in F1 generation all were red, heterozygous condition, and when they are crossed, intercrossed, F1s are intercrossed, he could find all females were of red-eyed. Among the males 50% were red-eyed, 50% were white-eyed. So among all the generations of F2, individuals with 75% were red-eyed, that includes both females and males, whereas white-eyed of 25% were only males. That is what 3:1 ratio is of. Now, he started crossing a white-eyed female with that of the red-eyed male. All females in F1 generations were red-eyed and all male individuals were white-eyed. When these two types of individuals from F1 generations were intercrossed, female population of F2 generation were consisting of 50% red-eyed and 50% white-eyed. In the first type of cross, where white-eyed males and red-eyed females were involved, all females were red-eyed. But in this cross of white-eyed female and red-eyed male, 50% of F2 generation female individuals were red-eyed and 50% were white-eyed. Male population in these generations also had 50% red-eyed and 50% white-eyed. Morgan was stunned to see these experiments and the results of it. When red-eyed male, white-eyed females were crossed, this is what is the condition. So he comes to a conclusion that now inheritance of white eye color in Drosophila is related to X chromosome. So gene responsible for the white eye color in Drosophila is present on which chromosome? It is located on X chromosome. Since males have XY chromosomes in them and white eye gene is present on X chromosome, males started showing very easily the expression of the white eye color. So, white eye color in Drosophila is located on X chromosome, and Y chromosome did not contribute for the color of the eye at all. Now, the white-eyed female Drosophila showed two X chromosomes. Both the X chromosomes had the white eye gene in the recessive form. First thing, we have understood that X chromosome had this white eye gene, and this gene is in which form? It is in recessive form. Excuse me. Because of the recessive nature, when both X chromosomes showed this recessive gene, only such individuals of females were showing white-eyed condition. When one had dominant gene, the other had recessive gene, such females showed red-eyed condition. Third, we have seen that only males showed maximum number, the character of white-eyed, that they could analyze while having the reciprocal crosses between the white-eyed females and red-eyed males. Here they could find that females in the heterozygous condition were considered as the carriers, but they showed normal character of red because of the presence of a dominant allele for the red-eye character. So, the character of the white-eyed, we shall move back to the first cross where the Mendel has witnessed red-eyed female of homozygous W gene, dominant condition, males having white-eyed condition on X chromosome, it is recessive. So, small w. When these two are crossed, in the F1 generation, both males and females had capital W gene on the X chromosome, indicating all are red-eyed, irrespective of the sex. When these red-eyed males and heterozygous females were crossed, both are red-eyed, he could find in F1 generation, all females are said to be red-eyed, whereas one of the males, 50% of males were normal with the red eye, 50% were white-eyed. So, what's happening here? The character of white eye seen in their grandfather, that is in the first generation, is passed to F1 generation through a carrier female. And from that carrier female, it has gone back to the character into the grandson. So white-eyed male in the first generation, the grandfather, character is expressed in F2 generation, the grandson. It is through the carrier female in between in F1. So this kind of inheritance pattern is called as X-linked recessive inheritance or criss-cross inheritance. Hope the concept is clear, students. So what's happening here? The character from the grandfather is made to move into the carrier mother, then into their grandson. So grandfather, grandson will show the similar character through a carrier female in between. We call it as criss-cross inheritance. Students, in the same way, X-linked recessive inheritance is seen in human beings also. We do have the similar sex chromosomal complementation of XXXY type. When you look at the genetic diseases such as color blindness as well as hemophilia, both showed the inheritance pattern of genes which are said to be X-linked recessive inheritance, showing a particular path we call it as criss-cross pattern of inheritance. So first to understand is color blindness. You know, color blindness is a sex-linked character. It's a disease which was studied by Horner in 1876. The individuals who have this recessive gene in them, affected gene in them, cannot distinguish between the red and green color. Hence it is called red-green color blindness. And this gene responsible for the color blindness is present in recessive form on X chromosome. Down in the picture, when you look at towards extreme left, you have a picture showing red and green coloration, but the same when you look at for that is in normal individuals. The same when you look at into the eyes or through the eyes of colorblind, it appears to be colorless. So this is the defect which we call it as color blindness. And what is the gene responsible for it? It is gene which is present on chromosome number X in recessive condition. So what happens in a normal human being who can differentiate the color of red and green? On X chromosome, there is a dominant gene that is responsible for the coloration of sensitive cells, the cones. So formation of color sensitive cells called cones are formed with the help of a gene called dominant X-linked gene. In its recessive form, these color producing genes are absent. So sensitive cells of cone cells are absent in these individuals in recessive form. In homozygous recessive female, mean to say 2X chromosome with small c gene on them. Hemizygous individuals, that is X chromosome alone has small c and Y in case of males. This condition of genic representation or genotype cannot distinguish between red and green color, indicating that it is the X-linked recessive gene. X-linked because it's present on X chromosome, it is recessive in condition. So the inheritance pattern of color blindness, when you look at, first case is marriage between a colorblind man and a normal visioned woman. In women of normal vision, we have X chromosome with capital C on them. That is dominant gene is present. In case of colorblind man, we have on their X chromosome small c. Remember, the affected individual is a male here. Such a parent is involving in a cross mating. They produce individuals of normal vision in F1 generation. Because when you see the cross, the X chromosome of affected is entering into the daughter. This is what is the condition. And X chromosome of the mother will enter into the son. So all the individuals are normal in F1 generation. But remember, females are carriers. They carry the affected gene on their X chromosome. The marriage between F1 normal vision carrier women and a normal vision man, that is son, when they are crossed, that is F1 individuals when are crossed, a carrier female to a normal vision male. Condition here is they produce one normal vision female, one carrier female again, one normal vision male and one colorblind male. So colorblind in F2 generation is seen only in the males. Okay, all females were normal visioned. To specifically say, one is absolutely normal, one is a carrier, a female, among the female category. Among the male category, one is absolutely normal, the other one is affected male. So, grandfather who had this colorblindness is transmitted their character into the grandson. It is through the carrier female in between. What do you call this kind of pattern of inheritance as? We call it as criss-cross inheritance. So it is an X-linked recessive inheritance also. So what happens in this kind of pattern where males are affected more than the females and only the affected mother can transfer the disease to their male individuals. The affected mother, when I say, she could be even a carrier. Okay, one who carries the affected genes in them. Disease transmission occurs only from grandson to grandfather, grandfather to the grandson, through the carrier female. So disease transmission from father to a son will never occur directly, but it is to the grandson. So grandfather carries the transmits the gene or affected to their carrier daughters, and these carrier daughters will pass the character to the grandson, which we call it as criss-cross inheritance. When you closely observe the cross here, a normal female is crossed to a colorblind male. As a condition, normal individuals of females and males were seen in their F1 generation. When they are crossed further of F1 generation, male and female individuals, they tend to form the F2 individuals where all females are normal. Specifically to say, 50% of females were normal, 50% were carrier females in F2 generation. And 50% of males were normal and 50% of males were colorblind. So when you look at this chart, you find colorblindness is seen in the grandfather and grandson. And in F1 generation, the mother will act as, the carrier female. So this pattern of inheritance is X-linked recessive inheritance or criss-cross inheritance. So the same is depicted here in second example. When a carrier female and a normal male, when they are crossed, this all females were normal and 50% of males were normal and 50% of males were affected. Now comes the second condition, that is F1 onwards to F2. Marriage between a normal vision man and a colorblind woman, not a carrier, colorblind woman. So both X chromosomes in the women is said to have small c. Since the father is normal, he will have capital C. In F1 generation, sons will be colorblind. Why? Because both X chromosomes on colorblind genes is present on X chromosomes of the mother. So she will definitely transmit it to the sons. All sons are colorblind. Daughters will have the carrier condition, but they are normal. When F1 carrier female is crossed to a colorblind male to get F2, they produce normal visioned carrier daughters, colorblind daughters, normal vision son, colorblind son. So this is the importance about the second case related to color blindness. The same example is shown in the form of cross here. When we look at the pedigree chart of colorblind individual, where a man is colorblind who marries to a woman of normal vision. First generation, man is affected, who shaded, the character is shaded, the symbol is shaded. The woman is said to be normal, so it is unshaded circle. They have 4 children. 2 female individuals are carriers, male individuals are normal. Okay, so affected father cannot transmit the character to the son directly, but it will be transmitted to their daughters, but they are carriers. Now condition is, towards extreme right side you will have to concentrate. A carrier female is getting married to a normal vision male. They have 4 children. Down 3, 4, 5, 6 individuals of third generation. Third generation here. Both females are normal. That is 100% females are normal. 50% are absolutely normal, 50% are carrier females. Among the males, 50% males are normal, 50% are affected. This is how the pattern of inheritance is seen. In crisscross inheritance or X-linked recessive inheritance is of. So pedigree is given, this is how you will have to follow it, students. The second case where a normal man marries a colorblind woman. Since the mother is colorblind, definitely she will pass their character into their son. All sons in second generation, that is F1 here, are all said to be affected. And all females are carriers. Same condition, when a carrier female marries to a normal vision man, what is the condition? As what we had discussed in first case earlier, that you find towards extreme right. See towards extreme left now. A affected male is crossed to or marries to a carrier female. Here also the condition same as what you find down. What is the condition? With reference to the males, 50% males are normal, 50% are affected. But among the females, as you see in the first case, all females are normal, but here it is not so. Since father is affected, mother is carrier, 50% of females are affected, 50% will be carriers. So overall, in second case towards extreme left, 50% of males are affected, 50% of males are normal, 50% of females are carriers but normal, and 50% of females are affected. So this is in the second case. So that's about the color blindness. Similar pattern of inheritance you find in the next disease, which we call it as hemophilia. In hemophilia, which is also commonly called as bleeder's disease, both men and women are affected. It's a hereditary disease, which was first reported by John COLO in 1803. It's also called as the Royal's disease because it was seen in the family of Queen Victoria. Hemophilia is caused by X-linked recessive gene. There's a condition here. When an injury is caused on the body, due to this recessive gene present on X chromosome, there stops the synthesis of a protein of clotting substance called as thromboplastin. Thereby, continuously the bleeding occurs. If there is a cut on the finger, the blood keeps on coming out. It will not stop. In normal individual, after some time it stops because of that clotting factor. It is due to a dominant gene on X chromosome. Because of the recessive gene on X chromosome, the thromboplastins are not synthesized. So, oozing of blood will be continuous. In this disease also, we find crisscross inheritance as what we have discussed earlier. Similar condition. we find a condition wherein females will pass on their character directly to the son. Never the father will transmit their character to the son. So affected father will not transmit their character into their son, but to their daughters he carries, makes them carriers. And this carrier mothers always makes their son a 50% to be affected individual. And affected females, if they are, they definitely make their sons again affected. So they do follow the pattern of crisscross inheritance, where affected grandfather will transmit their character to the grandson through the help of carrier females, which we call it as crisscross inheritance. The concept remains same. Here in hemophilia also as that of crisscross inheritance. Again, the pattern of crisscross inheritance is same. Students, to summarize, there is physical association between the genes present on the same chromosome, which are very closely localized, or called linkage. The linkage of genes present on sex chromosome is called sex-linked genes. On Y chromosome we call it as Y-linked genes or Hollandric genes, and on X chromosome we call it as X-linked genes or sex-linked genes. Some genes are present on both X and Y, which we call them as incomplete sex genes. In the first case, where white-eyed Drosophila is seen, the X chromosome will carry the recessive gene for this character of white-eye. Y chromosome it doesn't involve. White-eyed female of Drosophila will have two X chromosomes with the affected genes on them. They will transmit it to their sons definitely. Whereas white-eyed males, if are involved in the cross, they will transmit their character to their daughters, making them carriers. Carrier females will transmit the character to their sons, making them affected. Same pattern is seen in human beings with reference to color blindness as well as hemophilia. Color blindness is a sex-linked recessive character, where the affected individuals will fail to differentiate the color between red and green. The defective gene is present on X chromosome in the recessive condition. The dominant X-linked gene is responsible for the formation of color-sensitive cells called cones that can differentiate the color between red and green. Because of a recessive gene on X chromosome, they fail to synthesize these sensitive cone cells. Homozygous recessive females and hemizygous recessive males will show the affected disease of red-green color deformation. Hemophilia is another example called bleeder's disease. It is also X-linked genic recessive pattern of inheritance it follows. They lack a protein called as a thromboplastin in their blood system, which may lead to the death of the individuals. They do follow crisscross inheritance. Students, the outcome of today's session is we have understood how genes are linked on chromosomes, especially of the sex chromosomes or allosomes. We also have learned how these genes will follow a particular pattern of inheritance, especially related to X-linked recessive inheritance in color blindness and in hemophilia. After we learning the concept of sex linkage and pattern of X-linked inheritance related to recessive condition, we shall try to answer certain of the multiple choice questions. Question 1. The physical association of genes of two or more numbers seen on a chromosome is called as what? Linkage. So answer is A. The sex chromosomes in Drosophila are said to be unequal in size and shape. So answer is B, unequal in size and shape. The third question. Who discovered sex linkage in Drosophila melanogaster? It is P.H. Morgan. Answer is C. The gene for eye color in Drosophila is located on which chromosome? Since it's X-linked, it should be X chromosome. D answer. Excuse me. The genes which are located on Y chromosome are called as what? Hollandric genes or Y-linked genes. Answer is A. The color blindness is an example of which pattern of inheritance? It is sex-linked character. It is B. Specifically, sex-linked recessive character. The color blindness was studied first by Horner. So answer is A. The colorblind people cannot distinguish the colors of red and green. So answer is C. Hemophilia is commonly called as bleeder's disease. So answer is D. Now what is the other name? Royal disease. Okay. Hemophilic persons lacks the substance in their blood. Which is the substance? Thromboplastin. Answer is A. Well, students, the references that we followed for this particular section is Cell Biology, Genetics, Molecular Biology, Evolution and Ecology by P.S. Verma and Agarwal, Zoology for degree students by Agarwal, Histology and Genetics by Mohan P. Arora, Cytology, Genetics and Molecular Genetics by Pandey, Introductory Zoology Volume 5 by C.M. Vimala, and Textbook of Zoology Volume 3 by Dr. Ramesh, along with the web references of Wikipedia and Britannica.com. Thank you all, students.